The People First podcast is a show presented by people with learning disabilities for our friends and community. We talk about issues that are important to us and interview interesting people to find out new information. This is the way to make a difference and have our voices heard.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the People First podcast. On this week's episode, we are talking to Matthew Lee, who is an apprentice at People First Keighley and Craven. Matthew will be talking to us about the course and what he does at People First Keighley and Craven. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Tom and Alex, for inviting me back onto the podcast. So I know this episode is going to cover a few of the questions that I was asked originally when I first came on the podcast back when I started in 2023. But because it's been so long, I'm hoping to have a good few new answers and be able to provide a bit more insight into my apprenticeship now that I've finished it.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
So, my name's Matthew Lee, and I am formerly the Digital Marketing Apprentice at People First Keighley and Craven. So, I can now say that now that I've finished my apprenticeship, I'm now the marketing lead here, as well as an advocacy worker.
What is your job role?
So, as I said, my job role while I've been here as an apprentice has been marketing apprentice. So, as a part of my apprenticeship, I've been working at People First to try and market the organisation through online platforms, so like social media, the website, online videos, things like that. So I have worked in particular in that to try and expand People First's online platform, because People First is quite an old organisation. I believe it was about in 2012, around when the Facebook page started, and I don't think the Twitter followed that long after. So it's got quite an established base that I've had a lot to work with. So that was really helpful especially when I first started out. But I've been trying to sort of take People First into new directions. So last year I started up the TikTok account, which now we've been using YouTube a lot more. That gets a lot more frequent uploads. The Instagram pages for the People First podcasts, as well as just the charity page in general, they've been getting a lot more usage. So yeah, I feel like I've tried to, I've done a good job in expanding People First influence onto other platforms, just so more people can hear about the amazing work that the members and all the staff do here. So now that I'm the marketing lead, what I hope to do is continue to do that work, but also push sort of the boundaries outside of the different marketing things that I've learned at college, to try and keep innovating and keep doing different and interesting things with the members, just so People First can continue to thrive. And yeah, I'm also an advocacy worker as well. And that means that I support the members in the office. I support you guys in the office with just sessions in general. So things that aren't about advocacy. Things that aren't about marketing. So I've been doing a lot more of that recently. And that's been a lot of fun as well, because it's been good sort of getting out of my sort of comfort zone that I've established over doing my apprenticeship with the same kind of things to do, new pieces of work, new ways of supporting you guys. So yeah, that's been great.
How long you been at People First, and how did you hear about it?
So I started working here in September 2023, which is about 18 months. And I found out about People First because before starting my apprenticeship, I was really struggling to find a place, even after going to a bunch of interviews. And because I was on a gap year, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to university yet after leaving school, I was looking for something to do with my time as well in the time before starting my apprenticeship. So one of the staff members here, the team leader, Janet, is actually my auntie. So she recommended People First as a place that would be somewhere good to volunteer. So I started volunteering on Wednesdays, so helping out with the podcast upload. And that's kind of how I started off here. And then that developed into me having a real interest to work here. So I talked around with the staff at People First. The board voted on it, and they said that they wanted me to be, they were all right with me being an apprentice. So that's just, everything has just kind of gone from there. So I've been working for the longest time with the podcast team, and the podcast lead, staff member Adam. He was definitely my mentor throughout my apprenticeship. And then all the other roles and jobs have just kind of fallen along from there.
What apprenticeship have you been studying, and how long have you been doing it for?
So my apprenticeship is a digital marketing apprenticeship. So I've been doing that for about the same time as I've been working here, so about 18 months. So I did that with Craven College, and so I learned so the apprenticeship involved a lot of learning the basics of marketing. But yeah, I got a lot of very useful information out of that course. And although marketing is generally catered towards businesses that are trying specifically to sell a product or a service, which, because a lot of the work that we promote online for People First is advocacy projects, a lot of traditional marketing techniques don't apply. So it's been really interesting trying to make what I had been learning work at People First.
What would you say to someone who is considering an apprenticeship?
So what would I say to someone considering an apprenticeship? I would say that if you're considering doing an apprenticeship, go for it. An apprenticeship is a fantastic way to get work experience that isn't just learning theory in a classroom. Like, you're learning practical skills on the job for the field that you want to get into. It's a really good springboard to get from someone who's just left school. Maybe you have an idea of what job you want to do, to actually getting to be there at that point, doing the thing that you want to do. But yeah, I think even if you're just not entirely sure about university, like you don't really think it's for you, or you're just maybe not feeling that confident about, going away from home to live in student accommodation and then just doing 3 to 5 more years of school before starting a job. Just you can't go wrong with an apprenticeship, honestly.
What result did you get in your apprenticeship?
So I'm very proud to say that I passed my course with a distinction, which is the highest possible mark. So I got marked on, it was an overall mark for a lot of smaller projects that I did throughout my apprenticeship. So there were some knowledge tests that I did in my first year. I had to write up kind of essays about the different projects that I was doing at work. There was what was called a synoptic project, so where I got given a completely fake business and was told to basically do a bunch of marketing exercises for it to just test out my skills with a business I was completely unfamiliar with. And then finally I had an interview with someone from the exam board, where I basically just talked about all the work that I did.
What have you been your favourite piece of work at People First Craven?
Oh, this is a difficult one. I wouldn't say that I have in particular one piece of work that's been my favourite, because there are a lot of things that I'm really quite proud of that I've done. A lot of really good work that I feel that I'm proud of the members for having done, and me facilitating that, me helping to facilitate that has kind of made that stick out to me a lot in my head. The podcast obviously has been one of the biggest projects. I've worked on that consistently ever since I started, and we've done a lot of amazing episodes with some fantastic guests while I've been here. Some that come to mind are with Brooke Millhouse, and it was really cool when she came in and got to meet, all the members got to meet her. Helping to record at the Learning Disability England conference. That was only earlier this year, but that was a fantastic day where I feel like I really got to see the confidence in the podcast members who attend just flourish, and that was really awesome. The actors that we've spoken to on the PFKC podcast corner, that's been really cool. All the work with Robbie Moore, that's been really cool, getting to talk to our local MP and him addressing the issues that we've brought forward to him. I think that's just awesome. I think some of the particular podcasts, maybe I would say these were my favourite recording experiences, were at the This Is Me festival. It's just really great to see. It is a fantastic environment to see everyone having a good time listening to music. And obviously we've spoken to a lot of the guests there. We did that sort of the first year round where we did a podcast, and then the second time we talked to a lot of the organisations who had also set up stalls and were advertising there. So that was really fantastic to get to network and know some other groups in the area. So yeah, they've probably been some of my favourite podcasts to work on, just because it's a lot of fun going to them. But some of my other favourite pieces of work have probably been whenever we've edited videos, or when I've participated in supporting the making of videos. So things like the podcast vegan taste test episode. That was like a full week project with like all the members of the podcast team, and that was so fun. All the little camera bits, and then figuring out the green screen, and that was just a fun recording environment as well. It was a bit more of a laid back podcast, the guys just trying some vegan food. That was really cool. But also the Halloween videos, they've always been really great.
What are your plans for the future?
Well, now that I've finished my apprenticeship, there was sort of a discussion with the board. Well, I didn't have the discussion with the board, but the board met and discussed whether they wanted to keep me on as a staff member after my apprenticeship, and I feel very lucky that the board has agreed to keep me on. So my plans for the future are really just going to be continuing working at People First and hoping to get better at the stuff that I'm doing, try new things, get some more experiences now that I'm doing more work, and just keep working to help and facilitate you guys to do the fantastic work that you've been doing, and just keep getting the message out about this amazing organisation.
What do you think you have learnt working here?
So I think aside from all the marketing skills that I've learned, I have gotten a lot of things out of working at People First. I think I've learned how to have confidence in myself and how to have confidence in my skills. I've also learned obviously just a lot of really good technical skills. There's a lot of programs and kind of technology, like all the recording equipment in the podcast room. I would not have known how to use any of this before we started, and I've kind of learned from the podcast team, from you guys basically, and that's been a really invaluable lesson. But also a lot of skills in the fields of social care, which I didn't think I was going to learn at all. I'm really surprised that I've ended up learning a lot of that, because that's something kind of outside what my apprenticeship has been. But just working here, I've learned how to better support people with learning disabilities, how to make what I'm saying more accessible. That's a honestly a good thing as well. The accessibility skills that I've learnt. I have a base understanding of Makaton, the Makaton sign language now, which is really good for helping to communicate. A lot of training like that I just wouldn't have. I don't even know if I would have ever learned otherwise. But again, there are probably so many things that I've learned and just picked up from all different areas over all the time that I've been working here that I just can't remember it. Also, yeah, those are the major ones that are sticking out in my mind right now. But yeah, no, I would say I've definitely learned a lot.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you for coming on our show today and telling us about his apprenticeship and work at People First.
We are very pleased you finished it and will stay working with us.
Is anything else you'd like to add before we end our show?
Well, I'd just like to say again, yeah, thank you so much for having me on again, guys. This has been a fantastic little episode. Yeah, and I'm just so grateful to be part of this team. But yeah, no, thank you guys.
Remember the comment right there and please vote and subscribe and hit. You can find it by searching for the People First podcast at and we see you soon.